One of the applications that I hadn't thought of was we have a community that probably dates back to the 1850s, and they're all on 25-foot lots. And so there are some areas of the town that they have polluted their wells because the septic fields are, become so saturated that we end up trucking in water. So a way to try to reclaim or remediate that area may be just taking the toilets out of the homes and putting in composting toilets, because I'm sure that they're probably 5-gallon toilets, on very small lots in very old homes.
Well, I'll tell you, the ones that we looked at, the water 1 pint per flush, totally seamless. I mean, I always watch my lady friend to see how well they accept those things, and it worked very well. I mean, it's much like, again, using the restroom on an airplane, only you got a lot more room.
Yeah, right. You have any experience with the urine separation type composting toilets? Or?
No, I don't know anything about those.
So with that kind of a configuration, from a practical standpoint, what's the difference from what you might call the user interface? So I think that's what it would get down to, is the user interface.
Can I show you how this operates here? Would it be of any interest to basically show you what's involved with this? Operating this?
I didn't catch the first
Do you want to, can I show you how this operates here?
One of the big differences, I think, would be that the chances of odor infiltration into the house are less when it's down below.
Totally washable. You can run it through the dishwasher, but I wouldn't tell your wife that you're doing that. After you get done, you come out and then you crank this. This is probably the analogy to flushing the John. What that does is it mixes up the waste. And that's why you periodically add your the peat moss, you add the wood chips, and yes, just drop it in. That's basically the maintenance. That would be what you'd have to do. Well, that's a good point. It's basically part of the task that of using it. It'd be comparable to the flushing operation. And again, the maintenance would be adding the chips and then removing the potting soil every 3 to 6 months, depending on the use.
I think my wife would want the handle to be on the side.
Well, again, it's all, if you put it remote like that, it makes for a smaller footprint in the restroom, and it's all automated for you. They do, one of the key things is they need to maintain a temperature between like 70 and 100 degrees to maintain the composting operation. And they do come, if you're in Alaska or something like that, with a heater involved to kind of maintain that heat. Somebody else pointed out that this is much like a septic field, and that to operate best they need to have a constant use. If they dry out, then the composting option goes away, much like a septic field.
That makes sense.
Well, I do a lot of composting of yard waste and that sort of thing, vegetable scraps, and I get composting activity down to more like 40 degrees. If once the nighttime temperature drops steadily below 40 degrees, things pretty much kind of shut down. But that
That's to maintain
right. Do these get sized based on the number of users?
If they're manual operations, you're more or less capacity than automated. Waterless, water, 1 pint per flush. Per flush, their capacity is much. One example to give you there is waterless basically have 3 water boilers. And you don't have to have the water quality above the composter. the water basically doesn't serve as a conveying because it doesn't lubricant. It just kind of allow the waste to slide. It's not constrained to the 8 inch
Kind of rushing through, flying out really
Again, the reason I got into this was my little visit to Canada. It was kind of a revelation, just showing what the other part of the world is doing when they don't have the option of having central utilities. And it wasn't all bad.
Consideration of price or availability could be an option for us here.
Well, that unit sitting there is about $1,500 retail. You could probably install it for another $1,000 with the vent and the fan and things like that. It goes up to the water, the low flush is probably about $2,000 to $2,100 cost, and when you compare that with running a sewer line or rebuilding a septic field, it's kind of tilts it in your direction. One of the earlier attendees was interested in using these for like a toll booth. Running a water line and a sewer line to a toll booth to one of the highways around Chicago, that's a pretty big number, where something like this would be a much more economical option. In the back of it, it does require some urine to maintain the moisture, but if, for instance, it gets a little bit heavy on moisture, there is a drain. You can run that to a French drain effect. Well, thank you for your interest. Obviously, I'm a working engineer. I'm not a salesman, but I hope we conveyed what composting toilets are all about.
Well done, Bob. Thank you.